Big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. This is the first sit-down video I do in quite a bit of time. I've been doing so many vlogs over the summer and now I just really feel like sitting down and talking to you guys about books, and especially my all-time favorite 5 books regarding self-help and self-development, and books that I really think everyone should read. You guys requested me to do more book related videos, so that's gonna be the plan, and I'm gonna do one again more towards the end of the year about the books that I read in 2020, because I tried a lot of different genres of books, so that could be quite interesting. But this one I wanted it to be really specific to some of my all-time favorite self-help books. So the first book is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. It's how to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. It's a New York Times bestseller. I don't know how many copies of it were sold. You've probably heard of it before. Maybe some of you read it already. I've talked about it quite a while ago on my channel. I actually read this book in 2017, I think, and it really hit home for me. It was at a time where I started getting into self-help and started getting into reading again, and that really kind of like kicked my butt into it. But not only did it kick my butt into getting back into reading and really interesting myself in getting to know myself better and what I wanted to do with my life, it really kicked my butt in the sense that I really learned to be confident with myself and what I really wanted to do with my life, and that anything was possible. I really like the style in which this book is written. There's a lot of anecdotes. It's a very easy read. There's not a lot of super complicated vocabulary. It's just very nice, very funny. I enjoyed it, the whole of it. I love the fact that it's written by a woman as well, and I feel like you can kind of feel it throughout the book. It's about also really cutting out the bullshit in your life, so any self-sabotaging habits that you may have, it really gives you the strength and the tools to kick those out of your life and create the life you want to have right now, and just stop procrastinating it. And finally, it also talks about money and our relationship with money, and that was something that I found really interesting and I never really questioned myself so much about before I actually read this book, and not something I've read about in other books, and how we can have a more healthy relationship with money, and how it's completely okay to want to make money. Like, I feel like in society it's so like badly seen to want to make money, and this book really tells you how it's completely normal and you should own it, and it just removes all the guilt around making money that you may have and how you spend your money. It was very eye-opening for me, and I think it's really interesting, and it's very empowering as well. The next book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. You've probably read it before or heard of it. This is a very famous book in self-help and spirituality. I read this book quite a while ago. I bought it back in 2016 and read it over the course of 2017, I think. And it was a book that I read in a moment of my life where I truly, truly needed it. I think it's a beautifully written book. It's definitely a more difficult read and a more dense read than You Are a Badass, for example. And I would encourage anyone to read it in English, but if you're not super fluent in English, then maybe read it in your mother tongue. I personally read it in English, and at first it was a little bit challenging, but as soon as I got into it, it got easier and easier, and I could really relate to it and identify myself to the book, and it just was life-changing for me. It really hit home, and I was going through a difficult time in my relationship at the time, I think, and it just really opened up my eyes and gave me like a bigger picture on how I was feeling. I was really struggling, and how I had lost myself completely. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to be. I wasn't really happy in my life, and so it kind of really allowed me to see this all from an external point of view and realize that everything that was happening to me was actually happening for me. And that was a great place for me to be in right now and just focus on the present for me to learn and become the person who I am today and the person I wanted to become back then. So yeah, it really helped me surrender with whatever my life situation was like, and it helped me just being more present. I mean, that's the whole point of that book, is just to take things as they are and really learn from it instead of playing the victim. And it really inspired me to meditate more as well, and that's a book that I would definitely read again or pick up from time to time. Some people will say that this is not a book you read like from beginning to end all at once. Personally, I saw really great benefits in doing so that's why I really recommend you to dive deep into it. But obviously, after you've read it once, if you want to pick up passages here and there regarding what's happening in your life at that specific moment and what you want to be focused on, obviously that's also a great book to do that. And the way it's written, it has like some questions and situations, and then Eckhart Tolle will reply to them, and it's really nice because I feel like in a way it feels like it's like a dialogue with him directly, whereas like he'll imagine what kind of questions you as a reader has, and he will kind of reply to this in the answers, and that's how kind of the book is written. And I really enjoyed it. It kind of creates some kind of dynamic read, and I really loved it. I think it's an amazing book. I haven't read other books from that same author, and I really do want to. The next one on my list is A New Earth. I've heard so many amazing things about that book, and I have it here at home, but it's in Italian, so I'm still unsure whether I want to read it in Italian or get an English or French copy to really get deeper in it. But yeah, if you've read it, let me know what you think, and if you preferred it to The Power of Now, or if you think they're completely different. Yeah, the next book is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. This is more of it's not a business book, but it's more career orientated. But it's basically the fact that what is gonna change your life eventually is your consistency with your actions, and actions that are going towards that direction that you want to head to. It also really shows that what sets you apart is how much you're willing to push through, and how many obstacles are you willing and are you gonna actually overcome over time in the long term. And it also, like, basically the concept behind all of it is that the more you do the same thing over and over, it might take a lot of time to pick up in the beginning, but eventually the results from that will be exponential. It shows like some really great insights about, for example, personal finance and saving. Like, if you save a little bit each month, eventually, like, it will make such a big difference in the future, like in 30-50 years of time. If you start early, then if you start, like, let's say you start saving when you're 20, by the time you're 60 you'll be a millionaire, depending obviously on how much a month you put aside. But if you start, like, let's say 10 years later, around your 30s, then the amount of money you'll have gathered by the time you're 60 will be significantly lower. And I think that was such an interesting book. It really, it doesn't talk just about money. Obviously, it's not a financial book. It's about, you know, whatever it is that you want to achieve in life. The more you work towards it, although maybe in the beginning it won't pick up really much, if you keep pushing at it, eventually the results will be huge and you won't even expect it. And that's kind of what happened with my YouTube channel. Like, for a really long time, I felt like I was producing videos and creating content, and I wasn't really getting anything back in return, or not really much, and I couldn't live from it, and it was just a lot of energy put in there for not really much, receiving much in return. But I knew I was doing it for a deeper reason, and I knew that eventually, like after a few years, it would eventually pick up. And that's kind of what happened exactly. It suddenly completely exploded. I mean, it's not just a compound effect, but it does really show that theory is true in a lot of aspects. Like it's, you know, it's like running. You'll really struggle with running in the beginning when you start, and it will be painful and you will hurt, and then suddenly you will just enjoy it so much, and it will be like a turnover, sort of like it will completely change over time. It's not like completely gradual, but it will go like this and then up, and then it will really feel like, oh, actually that's easy, and I can go faster and easier, and I don't suffer as much, and I really enjoy it. That's kind of the same with anything pretty much in your life, and that was a concept that I have implemented and I have understood, really implemented in my life. When I feel like something is not really giving me anything back in return, I'm just trying to be more patient and keep working at it, because I know that eventually hard work pays off. So yeah, I really love that book. I think it was life-changing for me, and I highly recommend anyone to read it. The next book I want to share is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote the book called The Four Agreements, which is probably one of his most known book. I personally really loved that specific one. It's a practical guide to the art of relationship. I love that book. I think The Four Agreements is amazing as well, and everyone should read it. But if I had to pick one, I really loved that one, because this one was more specific about relationships and love, but also about self-love. It really teaches you how to build healthy relationships, how to eliminate unhealthy patterns in your relationship and love life, and personal self-love. And talking about self-love, it really focuses a lot about the relationship you have with yourself, and I just loved it. I think I could relate to it on so many levels. It taught me so many great insights to implement in my life, and it also talks about the controlling mindsets that we have in relationships and regarding love, how to let go of that. I know I'm a very controlling person sometimes. I am sometimes very difficult with myself, and I know I can be that way with people around me as well, and that is something that I really need to let go of, and that was something that this book really talks about. Another thing that it focuses on is why we search and seek for love in other people, and how we can find love within ourselves, and how we don't necessarily need other people to be and feel loved. The fact that we are worthy of love whether or not we're in a relationship, and that love is within us and it's not anything external. And finally, it talks about forgiveness, so how to forgive ourselves, how to forgive others of past experiences, things you're experiencing right now, anything traumatizing or anything painful that you experienced regarding love and relationships, how to forgive it and let yourself free to move forward, and just being more present in your current relationship, whether you're with someone or just with yourself. Highly recommend. It was a great read. And then finally, the last book that I want to talk about today is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was such a great book. I didn't expect that much of it, because I've been doing a lot of research about, our daily routines and our habits, and I felt like, I don't know, how could a book teach me how to implement a habit in my life? Like, eventually it comes down to action. Reading books about habits is great, but it's not really gonna help me implement a new habit. If I really want to implement a new habit in my life, I really have to act up on it. But I feel like that specific book gave so many great insights in how to implement new habits, how to remove bad habits from your life, how to keep the good habits that you already have, but also keep new habits. There's a few really nice concepts in it, such as habit stacking, which means if you already have a habit that you're doing on a day-to-day basis and it's very easy for you to keep it and you do it anyways every single day, is to stack a new habit on top or before it. So like, for example, let's say you have the habit of getting a morning coffee every morning, and for example, a stacking habit would mean doing 10-minute meditation before your morning coffee. If you don't do your 10-minute meditation in the morning, then you can't get your coffee. So that's kind of like how it all works. And it talks about, rewards after doing habits. So the coffee could be your reward for meditating for 10 minutes. It could be other things, like, it could be anything, but I'm just giving an example here. And that's a really great way, I find, to add new habits without having the pressure and without it being too difficult. It's not because you read this book that your whole routine of habits will change, but it will give you the tools to change it if you want to. And I think that's really amazing. I love the way it was written. It had some amazing stories within the book that I absolutely loved, about some like former professional athletes, really inspiring people. And it's a very easy read, I find. Like, it's obviously, it has a lot of concepts and tools, but it's not a complicated vocabulary to go through, and every concept is very well illustrated through anecdotes. So yeah, very inspiring, very life-changing if you apply those tools to your daily routine and habits. So yeah, highly recommend that book if you feel stuck in your life, if you feel like your daily routine doesn't have much of a consistency or doesn't really look like what you would like to, if you want to improve any things in your routines in your daily life. This is a great book regarding habits, and also how habits are going to change your life in the long term. And that also comes back a little bit to the compound effect of really like how 5 minutes a day of a certain thing can really change your life after a year, 2 years, 3 years. So it's really like the motivation behind it and how it can actually really change your life. Before we end the video, I want to introduce you guys to Squarespace. This has been the website creator I've been using over the last year or so to create my own blog and website. It's an amazing place to create your own online store or blog, and it has amazing tools that allow you, even if you're a complete beginner, to create your own very professional looking website. If this has been on your list for a while, I highly recommend to check out Squarespace and get a free trial at squarespace.com. And whenever you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/chloe.chenorkian, and with that you'll get a 10% off your order of a domain or a website. Finally, there's a few book recommendations and updates on my blog as well, so I will link it down below if you're interested in checking it out. If you have any favorite self-help books you want to share with me, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your recommendations. I will leave my Goodreads also in the description so you can follow me on there and we can keep updated about what books we're all reading. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!